Welcome back, everybody, to Clash and Conferences podcast. We're still here rolling through the Super Bowl and probably some off-season episodes coming up as well. We had two big non-NFC East games left last week. We had two pretty good games. We had Kansas City beating the Ravens 17-10. A little bit of an upset there, but we had some correct predictions on our end of the podcast here. We'll get to here shortly. And we had San Francisco 49ers in a tighter one than probably I think a lot of people expected, 34-31, coming back in a huge comeback against the Detroit Lions. So that was our two games. We're going to have San Fran going up against Kansas City in the Super Bowl. I just looked at that line a little bit ago, and it's out right now, at least at 1.5, I was seeing it as. So that's what we have to look forward to yet. We had an internal competition going for the playoffs, a little confidence pool. And Randy took that with 77 points. So I guess it's not technically over yet, but Randy leads with 77 points and has it locked up over Paul at 62 points. So Randy, no teams to throw it to for being the best team in the NFC East anymore, but you get bragging rights on this little confidence pool. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I've got one incorrect pick this entire playoff, and that was just because I had to pick the Cowboys. Other than that, I'm perfect.
Wait,
on a
you
season.
had to pick them. Why'd you have to pick them?
Gregg, stop. I know you didn't believe in your team this playoffs. Chris would have never let me hear the end of it if I didn't pick the Cowboys. And
That's true.
They should have won, to be quite honest. I know Trey would like to believe otherwise, but they should have won. All that being said is...
Although he did call it.
All that being said is I'll take 11 out of 12 from the for the Nostradamus of the Year award, and it's going to be 12 out of 12, although I've only got one pick to play for. I don't know if any of you guys can statistically catch me. I know a couple of you guys get free points from San Francisco, who's going to win. Spoiler alert, by the way. But all that being said is, again, you guys all bet against Kansas. I told you not to.
Kansas City.
Yeah, I'll say Kansas because I won and I'm smarter than you. But all that being said is, in the end of it, it's Mahomes. It's like Brady in the playoffs. You don't ever pick against him. I'm doing it this week because I think San Francisco is the only team that is absolutely unstoppable. They're unbelievable. They beat everybody that's good this year. They beat everyone across the board. I know they lost to Baltimore, but Baltimore lost to the Steelers twice. I mean, in the end of it, I have to take. I don't know if we're doing our picks right now on that, but all that being said is, I just feel like I had a really good. I honestly felt like they were pretty easy picks too. You guys were all picking Buffalo, the Ravens. It's like, how do you pick them against Kansas City? And I don't want to give you guys too much crap for that, but here we sit. I'm 77. You guys are what? Paul's in second with 62.
62.
Topher, you're somewhere, and Topher and Gregg are somewhere in the end, and
59 and 56.
It was a good week, guys.
Look, first, I do want to say I appreciate the fact that you wore that rosy color of blush for us all today on your cheeks. It looks heavenly on you. But let me talk about your freaking picks and why you're such a donkey. So you picked the Cowboys to win the whole thing. So maybe with the highest pick in the first game of the entire contest, maybe you take the Dallas Cowboys with 13. Why would you not?
No,
if you think they're going to win, no, stop, nope, zip it, Chris. Look, you had
them winning the Super Bowl. So how confident were you really?
Yeah, like
I think
what were you doing? Why would you?
10.
So what I did is I made a smart move.
13. Turns out it wasn't a smart move.
Right, and you know what? And again, I'm pretty sure all of us are sitting just fine on our couch, knowing that you won that, but the Cowboys haven't been playing football for, what is it, like 2 months now? So don't worry.
2 weeks.
I'm glad you can do math all of a sudden. So you did that. You picked Dallas to win, and then you didn't even pick your team with the top 13. And then last week, I picked KC because that's who I think is going to win. And all because you thought the opposite, I had to switch. And so I lost again. So otherwise, if you had just voted the way that you were supposed to, which made sense,
Well,
we'd be tied or I'd be winning.
I didn't. I used wisdom, Paul.
You didn't use wisdom. You didn't use your dome. You didn't use anything. Well, that's all I got to say. By the way, and for all the Detroit fans, all I got to say is, look, if you had one opportunity, one shot, one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or would you just let it slip?
Or would you go for fourth down twice and not get a field goal or anything and lose the game by 3?
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
Lion. I haven't seen a lion fall this bad since Mufasa threw Mufasa was thrown off a cliff.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it was Scar through Mufasa.
Yeah, there you go. Scar through
Man,
Mufasa.
at least get it right.
Probably should have written that down before just blurting that out. A Lion King reference.
Yeah, but speaking of that,
I don't
right?
do good at reading. I don't do good at reading in public.
Speaking of that, though,
or
right,
writing.
Paul? One field goal. Weren't they in field goal range twice. On 4th and short, and they lost by 3?
Twice.
The odds are he's going to make them both.
Yes.
But the odds are he's definitely going 50-50. Game's at least going in overtime. You always take the points in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that was
man.
you never. I know that there's a lot of analytics.
It makes you think it's fixed.
The analytics are more and more scrutinized than they have ever been, but you don't take points off the board. If you've got 3 points and you've got a 40.
One thing that the analytics don't take into consideration are scores. You're up, you can go up by 17. They don't take a lot of those things into consideration. They don't go flow a game. I mean, that was Detroit. It was Detroit's game. That flow was just absolutely ridiculous. And
I think in the second game,
call.
I think in the second game there was like a 4th and 2 on somebody's own 35, and it was like, well, the analytics said go for it. I was like, no.
Yeah.
No.
But the other thing, again, if you're Detroit, you're playing from ahead. Like I feel like I understand the situation if you're down 14.
They were trying to put the nail in the coffin, is what they were trying to do.
Well, yeah, but it's the third quarter and you're up 14, about ready to go up 17. Like, it's different.
I take the points all day long.
It's different if you're down 14. It's a totally different call. Then I could say 100%. I kind of agree with it, but what a dumb way. I thought it was just. I think Dan Campbell's going to be eating that one forever. I mean, regardless of what happened at the end with the touchdowns, if they would have kicked 2 field goals and put San Francisco at the 20-yard line by doing a half decent kickoff,
right?
Would San Francisco have been able to score as much? I don't know, but it's like 2 terrible calls by a coach.
He finally admitted it. He admitted it today.
I thought the same thing originally, but I read something today that said the Lions had not only gone for it the most of any other team in the NFL this year on 4th down, but they were successful on 75 or 78. It was 75 or 80% of their attempts from 4th and 3 or less.
That's basically what he said.
And their kicker from 45 yards or more, 48 yards or more or something, was under 50% lifetime. He had the worst percentage of any kicker in NFL history from long distance with a certain amount of attempts. That qualified.
They should have brought somebody else
in
for the playoffs.
When you look at what I thought Campbell was crazy for going on in the moment, but when I read those stats today, I was like, well, I mean, shit. It seems like it's been what you've been doing all year and it's been working. Do you really change it right then?
Well, I still agree with Paul, though. It's still his fault then, and get a kicker in there, because if you get either one of those field goals,
why would you bring somebody so unreliable into the playoffs with you?
Well, he basically said that.
It's already a travesty that football games are decided by kickers, anyways.
I mean, Paul, you say that, but the Eagles brought Jalen Hurts in. That was a travesty.
Here we go.
It is Carson Wentz 2.0. I mean, you guys dragging me about my quarterback, but damn, you just had him winning the MVP, and now they're running him out of town already.
So speaking of crazy stuff, we were talking about this a little earlier before the podcast, but how about those Commanders not being able to? I mean, they get a head coach, and then bam, he's gone. I just think it's interesting that your coach quits before he even starts the season with you guys. Now you're looking, I mean, likely probably staring down the back of a Belichick or someone else, which you don't want. I mean, I'd like to hear more from you. No, Paul, I didn't say you. I didn't say you, Anthony. I'd like to
other
hear more
you.
from
Sorry,
you.
you didn't clarify. Other you.
That's all right. I'm done hearing from you this year.
Why don't we give Anthony a proper introduction first,
Yeah.
Paul? You want to introduce your guest?
Yes, this is my son, Anthony. He's a freshman at Christopher Newport University. Big, lifetime Redskins fan, courtesy of myself.
I'm sorry, Anthony.
Well,
he got the raw end of the deal on that.
Sorry, he has good taste in basketball.
You've been tormented most of your life. I understand that.
Hey, I'd rather be terrible and not make the playoffs than have my hopes given up way into the new year.
Really? I
He's
really
used to
don't
it.
think
He's
that's
okay
true,
with it.
Anthony.
I'm a Knicks fan too. Both my teams are terrible. I understand pain. It's okay. We can lose early. We can get draft picks.
Anthony, you can't tell me that you would have rather that your team didn't do anything all year than your team was an aggressive, dominant player that happened to lose the first round of the playoffs. There's no way.
Not like you guys.
Anthony, you're getting more delusional than your father right now.
Spoken like a true Redskin.
I mean, when you're like, look, I went through it this year. It got ugly quick.
You definitely did too.
You're right, and Paul did too. And when you're losing, you kind of just know it, and you. I know, but on the flip side of that, he hit me with that in the text message. Yeah, I absolutely would have rather won the division, but dude, it's embarrassing to go into the first round as the higher seed and
every year you come in saying, "Dude, it's our year." It's like literally like June 1st, like the day after the draft.
Did I ever say this year was our year? Did I ever say that?
Well, there is no our year for you because you just became a fan like 8 years ago when Tony Romo was there.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Owner, your delusional owner's already saying it right now. My
18-year-old son has more years, has almost twice as many years of being a fan of his team than you are.
I would say we're similar in our fan length groups times.
Yeah, but
that was terrible. No.
But your owner's already saying it. Your owner's like, we're going all in next year. We're going
every single
Well,
he says it every single year.
Which team doesn't say that? There you go. Which team's going to be like, guys, we are not going all in next year?
But Jerry Jones.
You're the only team that does that. There's no other team.
Single year.
Like the day after the draft, it's going to be like it's our year, and like it starts. Read in, boys.
He's already saying
it's our year.
Listen,
he did it today.
There's no team out there that's like, hey. I don't even care if you're in the rebuilding stage. You start the season and say, this year we are going to not go in all the way. There's no
Where
team
was that
out
confidence?
there that does that.
Where was that confidence when you were trying to take the division a couple weeks ago and you didn't think you could do
I didn't think we would. I was
don't have
very
that
happy.
confidence.
I was very happy with the outcome. I'm
Anthony,
not saying
he's used to losing every year this way, and it's no big deal.
I'm not in the end. I'm not in the end saying that we aren't going to do good or we are going to do good next year. I don't know, but I know we're not going to start out the year by saying we're trying to do bad.
Oh, nobody's going to say that.
Paul
you
just said
you wait till it matters.
Does that.
You wait till it matters to start sucking.
And then you start sucking.
Something tells me that.
And the last year, Dak just started a little bit early. Dak tried to start a little bit earlier last year. He knew the assignment this year and waited until, you were supposed to.
Something tells me that next year this is going to be an NFC East and a Kansas podcast. We'll bring Steven on as the Cowboys fan.
Why would I be?
Are we firing Randy?
Yeah,
Randy's firing himself.
He's going to
he's
jump
becoming
over
the Kansas fan.
Well, not in a million years.
He did pick against them in the Super Bowl, and this
absolutely. This is my ultimate wisdom coming out when I'm making the picks. It doesn't mean I'm a fan. Gregg, you bet against the Eagles the first week. I'm not calling you a Tampa Bay fan.
I agree.
I will say this, I
was a fan of Tampa Bay that weekend.
I was too.
Me too.
I'll jump on that bandwagon.
But I was cheering for the Bills, and then I was cheering for the Ravens.
I know you were.
Oh, of course I was. And then I was cheering for the Ravens. But now I feel like the Kansas City's going to win the Super Bowl. Like I'm totally against you.
Got it then. Chris doesn't know how to pick a winning team.
That was good, Gregg. That was good.
All right, so back to the Redskins. What do you guys feel? How are you feeling right now? Anthony, before you were rudely interrupted, I apologize.
That by your father, needless to say.
Or by you.
No, stop.
I agree.
Not everything I do is bad.
I agree that I do not want another defensive head coach that's so defensive-minded because we tried being a good defensive team. Be it Heineke, I loved him, but we were terrible. So if we do offense, we saw it a little with how he can throw the ball. I watched him in college, watch him now. He can sling it. And I think if we give him like pass heavy offense, go great.
So, Anthony, right now, there's a slew of head coaches out there.
Yeah, who you got?
Is there anyone that you looking at and say, hey, that guy, I'd love to see that guy on our team? Because right now, obviously, you got a whole lot of. You know what's interesting? Speaking of this, Anthony, speaking of this too, you know who has the number one salary cap space in the NFL this year?
Commanders,
The
I assume.
Redskins?
$86 million.
Commanders.
Number one salary cap is the Commanders this year. So right now, who do you want as your head coach? And obviously, you got some room to pick up some talent. Who are you picking up?
I have no idea. I'll be honest. Of just anybody that's just not defensive. Even if we have to bring the enemy up and find a new offensive coordinator, I do not care. No defensive pass.
Well, the NFL is an offensive league right now. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, and I wish I mean, we've got high draft picks, and a lot of draft picks. I kind of wish it was maybe give Howell another whirl and put an O line in front of him. I know that sounds like somebody else, but let's try and put an O line in front of him.
It's true.
And just see what happens. Maybe get some better, some more pass catchers. You do have Terry, and he's great, but he's on an island of his own.
Well, again, you got Logan Thomas. I cannot believe how little you guys utilized Logan Thomas this year.
Well,
he's
you can't throw him the ball once
24/7.
without him getting a concussion or something. Like he's the same thing as Jordan Reed. Dude, he's great. By the way, he's also a quarterback. But
maybe you need to start him.
Well,
Giants would want him. He'd probably go off for them.
No.
Speaking of quarterbacks.
Oh, do I get to ask my question now?
You have a question? Go for it.
No, sure.
Yeah, I want to know from Anthony how if Daniel Jones played for the Commanders, would your team still be alive in the Super Bowl this week?
I think we would be 0-17.
Oh, stop it.
Love it.
He is absolutely terrible. I've seen it in person. He is absolutely terrible.
Come on, Anthony.
You did not see it in person because if you watched it at the Commanders game,
I have seen him in person.
Anthony, Daniel Jones threw actually
and he's
2
5-1-1 against
touchdowns.
The Redskins.
Yeah,
he
the
threw 2
losses
whole
when I was
touchdowns
there.
and 6 picks this year. That's not bad.
Dude, he didn't even play his season. The year before, he didn't have 6 picks.
Never seen who was it? I think I said at the beginning of the season, Germ Irsay spent $20 million to get some whale moved across to the Pacific. Yes. Still a better, and it died. It ended up dying. Still a better investment than Daniel Jones. For a season.
Anthony, let me jump right back to the question I first started with: is you got $86 million to spend in salary cap, and not a whole lot to shore up on your team. Who are you picking up?
Nobody knows who the free agents are at this point.
Too early.
Trey Lance is available.
Tackle, guard, center.
Available.
Literally an entire new O-line.
What's that?
An entire O-line.
An entire offensive
completely
line.
New. I don't care.
Jason Kelsey's available.
Oh, good.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I really honestly think that both Kelsey boys are going to hang it up after the year. I think
no chance of them reuniting in Philly or KC or anywhere. Like if Kansas City wins, you think he hangs it up?
They got a all-pro center there already. They're not going to.
Yeah,
they're not going to.
I mean, Greg, you said that before. I just don't see any chance in hell Travis Kelsey hanging it up when him and Mahomes are doing what they're doing.
His big thing was that's a good point. But
he had a down year, but he's still in his physical.
That last game,
he doesn't have long, but he's still in his prime. He still is just fine.
What is he, like 34 years old? And man, what was
that? Hold on. Jason's older, isn't he?
Yeah, 2 years.
Jason's only 33 or 34 years old.
Oh, Jason's 36.
Really?
Yep. We just did the math, Randy. So
yeah,
almost positive. Jason Kelsey.
I'll tell you what, man. His game last week. What was he at halftime? Like 9 targets for 9 catches. I think he almost had 100 yards and a touchdown. It was ridiculous.
I think he just took over Jerry Rice's total touchdown record in the playoffs.
You talk about Hall of Famer, first ballot. I mean, if he wins the Super Bowl this year after breaking that record, it's a good time to quit. It's a good time to hang it up. And then you got Taylor Swift. I mean,
he's Swifty.
Yeah. Well, did you guys hear about that too? They're talking about. I sent you guys something here. A lot of people
How she
are
can
saying
actually get to the Super Bowl
before Dak Prescott.
after. Oh yeah, well that too.
I'm
But
sure
they had
Dak Prescott's
No, but the
visited
amount of
Super Bowls
money,
before.
the amount of money that they're saying that she's bringing in, and the more
300
viewers
some
they're
million.
getting, they had to change the script. They had to get KC in there and make a couple more.
I was just
20,
reading.
30,
I was
40
just
million
reading
dollars.
a headline today with one of my coworkers. This year has been a record breaking for viewership in the playoffs. The first 3 rounds.
You made a comment earlier though, but it's an offensive league. But man, it's more about defense. And yes, Pat Mahomes is killing it in the playoffs. He does kill it every year. And but that game, they didn't score a single point in the second half. Ravens scored 3 in the fourth quarter. I mean, it was about their defense. I mean, the Kansas City's defense is balling, man.
I would say that AFC was more defensive focused, where the NFC, they've been shootouts in the end.
Well, I mean, you look at that San Francisco game, it's like, yeah, I know they got a defense, but good golly, that offense looks good, and it's
that good golly again.
There I go, the good golly.
Golly.
Yeah, but I look at that offense, and it's like, man, again, that's why I'm picking them this weekend or next weekend. San Francisco is they have so many weapons, and like I was just watching it through the other day. I'm like, oh, there's Ayuk, there's Debo, there's McCaffrey. You forget about the one guy. That's what I'm saying. You forget all about George Kittle. It's like, I mean, ever since he pulled his shirt out, but with that Dallas thing, he's obviously been a bum. But you know, the Dallas curse. He shouldn't have ever talked bad about Dallas. It definitely took him down a notch or two. But
Anthony, who's the most underrated player on the 49ers?
Oh, I feel like is Jordan Reed still on the team?
No, but it does start with a J.
Jawan Jennings?
Nope.
I don't know.
Who's your favorite player on the Niners? Who is it?
Most underrated player on the Niners.
Kyle Juszczyk. He was going off. It was amazing.
Kyle Juszczyk. Who the hell is Kyle Juszczyk?
It's a fullback.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
They're one of the few teams in the league that
you can definitely say he's underrated. I didn't even know that he played.
He's literally better than Tony Pollard. I don't want to hear it.
Oh, listen. You will get no argument
when he gets the ball. They're like,
yeah.
He's good for some random touchdowns here and there.
Yeah. I like the fullback. I think that's something the Giants lacked. If you're going to have Saquon Barkley, you should have a fullback.
Giants
you had a bad offensive line. Get a fullback.
And you're going to be lacking Saquon next year, too. He ain't going to be there either.
If he does happen to stay, you got to get a fullback, man.
However,
I like the fullback.
Paul, you're lacking a head coach right now, so.
I'm completely fine with that. At least I don't have one that I'm not gonna that I have no plans to extend.
You're lacking an entire team, Greg. So
and Gregg hired 2 coordinators in case theirs goes ballistic, and they can put either one in as a head coach.
I'll tell you, we just picked up our D-line coach yesterday.
Now, if only you can find a D-line to play for you.
No, we'll be fine. We got a young. We're gonna miss. We're going to miss Fletcher. We're going to miss Brandon Graham, but we got some young talent.
So, you know what I see, Greg? The Eagles could free up some money if because they owe Reddick, I guess, a bunch of money this year. If they would just extend Reddick's contract, they could free up a good bit of money.
That's what Howie's really good at. He's really good at the wizard tree of the salary cap. So good at.
He does play it well.
Not so good at drafting.
Yeah.
So we'll hopefully
and quarterbacks
figure some of that out. Well, yeah.
Made some pretty good trades as well.
I mean, I don't know.
Says the man who overpaid his quarterback.
Dude, $40 million is not a lot. You see what everybody's going to get here. It's not a lot. I see your face, Anthony, but it's not. You see what everybody's going to get this year.
Yeah,
you wait and see what Dak's going to get.
Is $40 million a lot for a quarterback, Anthony? Especially one with the initials DJ?
I would literally take anybody else over him for so much cheaper.
Anyone though, Anthony? I mean, would you take Josh Allen over him, for example?
Of course. I'll take Josh Allen over anybody.
Kirk Cousins?
Oh, Kirk O'Chain's over anybody, too.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that one. See, your son is smart.
We know you are, Randy.
Yeah. You got a picture of him on your wall behind you with his shirt on right now.
Yeah,
I ripped that off
he's
of
got
your
a different
Josh
kind
Allen jersey. So.
He's got a different kind of respect for Kirk Cousins. He's met Kirk Cousins. He knows Kirk Cousins.
Nice.
But does he have a Kirk Cousins outfit that he can pull out at any moment on any
Yeah.
episode?
Probably not.
Maybe next week.
Not on that level yet.
So, Anthony, one quick question here before the halftime. You grew up with Paul as your dad. Did that turn you into a certain type of person? Like, I just feel like if I would have had that kind of verbal abuse as a child, I probably would have.
This was a football podcast.
I just
Come on, Dr. Phil.
Seriously.
I'm
Where's
just
Maury?
curious.
Do we need somebody to prove that I am the father?
No, I know you're definitely the father. I just, like, for me, I've suffered from emotional abuse ever since I've gotten on this podcast, and I'm just curious where you're at.
You just got to make sure your team's better than his. So.
It always is, so that's not a problem.
Well, the Cowboys aren't, so.
They were this year, Anthony.
Really? What did you win? Tell me one thing that you won.
The NFC East. Oh, good job,
remember
Chris.
last week?
And what is that? And what does that get you?
One more game than us.
No, it gets me a shirt that says Dallas won the NFC East. I'll have to order it, though.
You actually
bought
and
all
your
NFC Championship shirts have
already
already been shipped out to Ghana.
You bought it at GeorgeKittle.com.
Yeah, but at least the ones from Washington are actually in Ghana. Ours were made in Ghana that year. The Washington NFC East champions were probably being worn in Ghana right now.
All right, I think something's going on. I think
shit.
it's time for halftime here. Let's take a quick break and
Time
be
out.
back to make some predictions, I guess, for the Super Bowl here.
Do it.
All right, welcome back. We're here with the second half. We're going to do a real quick get some real quick predictions. Again, we got San Francisco 49ers playing the Kansas or Kansas City, depending on where you're originally from, Chiefs. And that spread is San Francisco by 1.5. We got an over-under of 47.5. Why don't we just do a quick round robin here and get everybody's picks for the Super Bowl? Randy,
Anthony.
You want to lead us off? Randy,
I want
Anthony. Anthony. Why don't we let Anthony lead us off? Let's see what how you feel about Super Bowl prediction.
I definitely have the Niners. I won't lie. I did win money because Brock Purdy hit the under, but Christian McCaffrey carried my fantasy team this year, and he is carrying the Niners. I don't think there's anything that can stop him. Literally nothing, unless he
all them Swifties.
Unless he tears both of his ACLs, he'll be fine.
Except for Dak Prescott.
He didn't do it in the regular season.
Dak Prescott
too.
And their defense is crazy.
Well, I think I'm up next because I am the lead dog. Who has the biggest confidence left?
Not me. I got one.
I got two.
One.
Whoever it is, it doesn't matter.
I think mine. I think I left like a 5 or something out there.
Well, you got 5 and you can have San Francisco, but I'm going to pick San Francisco I was going to pick them either way. So I'm taking San Francisco as my last pick, which is a 1. Like I said, I've been the king of picking Kansas City all year, all the last 2 weeks, when you guys picked everyone else.
All year, all last 2 weeks.
Yeah, whatever.
All year.
But San Francisco, I don't think Kansas City is going to have an answer for them.
There you go.
I think they're going to dominate. So I think I don't want to say dominate. I think it could be a good game, but I think Kansas City has too many answers.
I would agree because I think they're going to dominate with one of our players that we just traded him. I think you got Fred Warner, you got Chase Young, and you got a couple other players on defense that they're going to get Pat Mahomes, and there's nothing that he's going to be able to do about it. You're not going to be able to run around. Lambjack tried it last week too, and he got caught a lot more than what most people would. If they're going to catch Lambjack, they're definitely going to catch Mahomes. And that's why I'm taking the Niners. And it should be for the win if Numbnuts over here would have played smart. Like if you weren't so dumb.
Lambjack? What do you mean by that?
You say I'm not so dumb.
It's that whole mentality of he knows they're going to lose in the first round. He's so used to them sucking and losing and blowing it and gacking it up.
Topher, I picked Dallas. He's talking about last week when I picked Kansas City over Baltimore.
No, I think he's talking about how Dallas, you didn't put a 13 on him.
No, he's talking about
Look,
Well, that was the
does
first
it
thing
really matter what he's talking about? He's trying to make an argument that Randy's strategy was terrible when he won the whole
When it was
damn
really
thing.
and
I
you
don't
good.
just
know
tripped and
what
fell
kind
into a
of
pile
I
of
don't know what kind
winnings.
of argument you're
and
trying to make here,
this is
Paul,
the
but it's
one
pretty
game
flat.
we played all year. This is the one game we played all year that has to do with skill, strategy, and knowledge, and I own you all in it. Every other one was chance. So, Paul, you're seeing my true wisdom.
You
I
tripped and fell and won.
Sure, I stutter
True
over my
wisdom.
words. Sure, it's not all perfect, but guess what? In the end, so did Einstein. I'm a freaking genius. Okay.
Why do you not? How do you not own Vegas then? Why do you not
Please
live?
rebuttal,
Why do you
Paul.
not
Oh my
own the
God.
Excalibur then?
Because
You
it's
should
a
own
game of
Excalibur.
randomness. That's a game of randomness. Me picking NFL teams to win is not.
You haven't even liked the NFL long enough to even know all the 30 teams.
Oh my God, 32.
32
Come on.
32.
Oh, wow, eat
All right,
that
whose
one,
pick
big
is it?
dog.
Go ahead, Chris.
All right, so I'm gonna believe in something that Nostradamus hasn't went against for the last 2 weeks all year. So I agree. Like Niners, they look unstoppable. They look unbeatable.
What game
They had
did you guys watch?
they,
I really
what?
got to ask.
No, I know what you're saying. In the second half, though, they look. Lions should have won that game. They had the chance. They should have took the points. They should be in the Super Bowl. But the Niners all year dominated, and they dominated the second half of the game, and they won the game. So I
Yeah,
don't
Greg,
know.
when adversity hits, they were able to overcome it, unlike the
See,
Eagles.
I see it. I saw it different. Go ahead, Chris. I'll let you finish, and then I'll go in.
All right. Well, all I'm saying is that every time I go against Pat Mahomes, he ends up winning. So I'm gonna go with what Randy's been saying the last couple of weeks. I just feel like the momentum's on their side. He hasn't lost a game in the playoffs. He won all these games on the road. I think Pat Mahomes is going to win it, man. Back-to-back Super Bowls. So I don't know how many points I got left, and it don't matter. But I'm going to take Kansas City. I'm not going to go against him. Here's the thing, right? When it comes down to quarterbacks right now, the better quarterbacks on the Kansas City side, and I think that's who's going to win the football game.
And don't you have Niners winning the whole thing?
Who, me?
No,
I had the Bills.
He was a little delusional.
So that would be
Bills.
me. I have the Niners winning the whole thing, and I'm going with Kansas City.
So he's the one that's going against his pick.
I think for the Super Bowl, you take the best quarterback coach combination, and I think that's Kansas City. I looked at that game last week, and I think, Detroit ran all over the 49ers. Montgomery had 93 yards. Jared Goff threw for almost 300. Laporta, who is a tight end, cleaned up in that soft zone. And what do you think Kelsey's going to do in that zone? My opinion. I also saw Chase Young making a couple business decisions out there and taking plays off. They're at the point now. There was talk that they may bench him for the Super Bowl because he's taking plays off and a detriment to the team. I mean,
Hey, you know what? I think you actually, and here, the reason I think you might be right, it all revolves around Kadarius Toney. If they leave his DJ bum ass at home like they did last week and claim personal reasons, they got a chance. They put him out there, he's a game changer for the Niners.
I did see there's a very good chance that they don't start Kadarius Toney this week.
Here's my thing, right? I seen a Kansas City team do their thing against Buffalo, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and then they turn and I'm going to say the same thing, and I'm going to say the same thing about Lamar Jackson. They did the same thing against him. The second half was only 3 points scored. The defense won that game. This is where I agree with Greg. If it comes down to this game, both teams got a good defense, even though the Lions did torch them in the first half. It's going to come down to the quarterbacks, and the better quarterbacks on the Kansas City side, and I have to agree with the coach. This is what they come to do, man. They took off in the middle of the season, in the regular season. They're here to play now. It's the real season.
There's not too many teams that can hit that light switch and turn it on.
And they're doing it.
Yeah,
they turned it on as fast as Dallas turned it off.
Yeah, and the Eagles turned it off. You have to look at, though, like the way that San Francisco has beat teams this year, and very good teams. I mean, Greg, San Francisco is the number one reason, the number one team at the time in the NFL went in their spiral when they beat you.
I agree with that, but I also saw them play the last 2 weeks, and they should have lost to Green Bay, and they should have lost to Detroit. Both teams lost that games for themselves. And that's why San Fran won.
It's easy to say they lost it for themselves, but I don't know. I still look at the year San Francisco's having.
Talking about Dan Campbell blowing that game for
Sure. Again, I don't disagree. I just think San Francisco is the whole ball of wax. A great run game, a good defense. Honestly, we called him a game manager all year. Well, he wasn't managing when he was coming back 24 points, whatever, 7.
It's the biggest game of the year, and all the experiences over in Kansas City side.
Yeah, I look at it. He's Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. I think he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong.
In the right situation.
In the right situation, but I think when those lights are bright,
don't open that up, Gregg.
I'm not, but I've been right all year about it.
I think that you have to. I think Spags is going to
Gregg,
have a scheme ready to go for him.
The question is, if Daniel Jones was in San Francisco,
I will say this: a healthy Daniel Jones behind that offensive line, he could probably win the Super Bowl.
I was going to say that when Chris was talking about the Baltimore game and how Baltimore lost because their quarterback wasn't good enough.
I'll tell you what, Lamar Jackson, I really wanted him to win, man, and I because of the whole narrative that a running quarterback can't win. I felt bad for him, but he really laid an egg, and he sucked in that game.
I feel so bad for him. I bad.
Well, I know you
$230 million and none of it goes to your agent. That must suck.
I would have much rather seen him than Pat Mahomes again, man. I'm sick of Pat Mahomes. I'm sick of Taylor Swift. I'm sick of. I like Andy Reid. I like Andy Reid.
I was watching a thing. Just reading up on how many head coaches, offensive coordinators, and defensive coordinators have come from the Andy Reid tree. It's just incredible. Like that guy.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
There
are trees underneath of his tree now.
Yeah.
Like it.
Well, he's the winningest coach on 2 teams. Nobody can say they're the winningest coach on 2 teams.
And apparently, Andy Reid, if you go back even further, comes from the Holmgren Green Bay tree, which is another massive tree.
Absolutely.
But the Eagles got rid of him, so
they pushed him out.
Listen, they didn't. Well, we had some rough seasons, and it was time for a change. It really was. He was stale. He was upset. He was contemplating retirement, and his son passed away. It was just an ugly time in his life, and he went out there, and that's when he rejuvenated his career, got his coaching tree, got his guys back. You won't see those guys lose those guys. Spags is going to be the D coordinator there until Andy leaves. That's his man.
I do like Spags.
You look at, I was surprised when he didn't get a head coach, Bieniemy, but that to me worked out weird, but whatever that is. But he's got his group, he's got his guys, and he drafts really well. Mm-hmm. Look at it. Look at those picks, man. You go back to
the receivers and running backs the last couple of years have been great.
I mean, I read a Tyreek thing the other day. Tyreek didn't want to leave Kansas City. That was Drew Rosenhaus.
It was just his contract. They knew they weren't going to pay him, so got to get rid of him, get something before you lose him for nothing.
From what I heard, it was $54 million is what Kansas City offered. Miami offered 75 or 78. Like, take it. That's where he left. He never wanted to leave Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
They got Rice is playing really well now, and
Rice did come out of nowhere. Yeah, he's good.
That running back is.
Pacheco actually looks for contact. I haven't seen somebody like that
runs crazy.
Look for contract and
go ahead and kill me.
People over.
Who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Ahmad Bradshaw.
I was going to say
hard.
I was going to say Marion Barber, but
I like the Ahmad Bradshaw.
Everybody's got their own guy from their own team.
I like the Ahmad Bradshaw more than I like Brandon Jacobs. My nephew loved Brandon Jacobs, and I like the way Ahmad Bradshaw played, man. And that's kind of what Pacheco reminds me of.
Runs angry for sure.
What they say, he looks like he's going to bite people, and they asked him about it. Somebody said he looks like he's going to bite somebody when he runs.
Well, that's the predictions from you four. I just want to remind everybody that I called San Francisco and said your teams would be on the couch months ago watching San Francisco into the Super Bowl, and here we are. So I feel like I got my one prediction of the year right that was long term. Let's before we get out of here,
we'll do a trophy. We'll put your name on the nameplate with Randy's trophy that he gets for nothing.
That seems fair.
His participation trophy.
But it gets to stay at your house. How about that?
we are going to try something new here real quick. We're going to call it flashing bashing. And these guys weren't prepared for this. So this is all going to be quick and random. Won't take very long, but we just want to have a little fun here. Our producer is going to throw up some random images on the screen that you guys should be able to see here. And when these images come up, just want, your first thought, first word. It can be a sentence, whatever, comes to mind. Try to keep it a little bit orderly. We don't want y'all shouting over each other. But, each image, if you all want to make one comment each on the image, go ahead and do it. We'll go to the next image and we'll keep it moving. So let's get the first one up here. What do we got? We got Romo.
Best quarterback of the 90 or the 2000s.
Randy sees his back end. He's falling in love.
Yeah, Randy's man crush. Randy's man crush.
Absolutely terrible.
Slips through his fingers as he's holding the extra point.
How can you say
greatest holder of all time?
I will give you. He shouldn't have been holding footballs.
The best thing about him in football is him announcing games.
And I noticed Prescott in the forefront of that picture. Is that like foreshadowing?
I think that guy right there, would he given another couple of years, probably would have won a Super Bowl.
All right, we didn't talk about this. Am I supposed? I don't know if I'm supposed to say next, but
best quarterback in the league. Best quarterback in the league.
Pick
Fun
six.
To watch. Fun to watch.
Pick six.
I'd like him to be a Giant next year.
Fun to watch.
He won't be.
Fun to watch, definitely.
Ryan McCool. Ryan McCool.
Touched.
What's that? What was
That's a great inside joke.
Dude, what was Napoleon Dynamite's uncle's name?
Uncle Rico.
Uncle Rico right there. That's
throw this over that mountain.
No, I just think he looks touched.
Not even the best Manning brother. Come on.
Hey,
that's true.
He got more Super Bowl MVPs than the Eagles got Super Bowls, and he won more Super Bowls than the Cowboys.
All right, that's the dumb shit.
Yep, NFC championships in this century.
Let's get a Redskin on here. Let's see what it is.
Oh.
They should have thrown a flag.
Stolen from New England.
They should have thrown a flag. It shouldn't have counted.
That's my first tattoo.
Stolen from New England right there. Well, congratulations on your New England special tattoo.
Yeah. It ain't as good as the Tommy DeVito special.
That
one of the greatest catches of all time. Steven, I remember you flipping out and calling me that night.
I'll give you that. That was a good catch.
That was awesome. And there was pass interference on the play.
And I'm going to call it completely freaking irrelevant.
Yeah, the Cowboys won that night. Yeah, they did.
Irrelevant
catch.
Why? That's dumb shit right there.
That's
fact.
Poverty of the podcast, buddy.
I mean, it's funny because you can
I said it in the promo in the beginning. Poverty of the podcast.
But we're the most relevant team the last 20 years. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Hey,
relevant don't win you Super Bowls.
That's right. Same thing I told Randy.
Greg, can I pick a different window than the last 20? I mean, you can't nitpick a window where your team happened to be good.
How about we just talk about as long as you've been around and how many you got?
I've been around since 1984.
No, I'm talking about Greg. Let's talk about how long we've been around.
I have won Super Bowl since I've been around.
That's right.
But my grandfather, who are no longer with us, called World Championship.
I just want to point out that our Dallas fan producer chose all these photos.
Yeah, we can tell.
He's not a fan anymore.
We didn't get O.J. Simpson.
Typical.
That's the real story. So if you guys ever
typical, I'm with Greg on that.
Wait a minute, what?
If you ever care to hear the real story, ask an Eagles fan, and we'll tell you why we threw snowballs at Santa.
Ice balls.
Okay, so we had a really, really, really bad team that year, like always, back then, and we were ready to get the first pick in the draft, and there was a guy by the name of O.J. Simpson that was about to be the number one pick. It was a huge snowstorm that day, and they decided to still have the game. So just like everything that Philly did in those years was at half-ass. So the real Santa didn't show up. So they asked some guy in the crowd and ended up piss poor Santa, and they were drunk and mad, and they threw snowballs at him. We didn't get O.J. Simpson, and it was horrible.
So I'm confused about that whole story. How does that have to do with O.J. Simpson?
because we ended up winning the game before. Then the snow came, and
I gotcha.
we wanted to. I don't know.
I thought you were going to say you won that game, and that messed your chances of getting OJ.
Still don't think that's an excuse to throw snowballs at Santa.
Yeah, that's incredibly disrespectful.
That's right.
Oh, and what the nice fans did to how they treated my son when we went to a Redskins game. That wasn't very neighborly either when he was like 9. Like, well, I guess you're going to have to learn those words at some point. Why not right now while we walk down from our nosebleed seats all the way down?
There you go, Chris.
I see a good guy, a class act, good head on his shoulders. He needs an offensive line.
Never visited a children's hospital in his life.
He has. He's done a lot of good things.
It's the last one to get the Walter Payton.
One of those things is not playing football, though.
Yeah. I wish they would have showed Danny DeVito.
I would have liked to seen Tommy.
Maybe it's the next slide.
Oh,
hey, that's a great game.
That's the muff. That's the muff field goal.
It's been a story of the Cowboys the last 20 years.
Yep, and that's why you have no hope. And that's why you don't have any faith in
Listen, you have a guy named Daniel Jones as your quarterback. You have no hope. I don't want to hear it.
He probably got the same amount of wins in the playoff as Tony Romo.
No, he doesn't. He has one. Tony Romo has 2.
Ooh, he'll have probably one next year. DJ will.
I think I could comfortably say I don't think Daniel Jones will ever have as many playoff wins as Tony Romo.
All right, Steven, you make sure you clip that. Wow.
That was sad.
Damn.
A couple years ago, absolutely. That's past tense. We don't wear bags anymore. Trust me. The paper bags were warranted the last couple of years.
That's not this year, though.
I see that, and I just think of racism.
Oh, stop.
Okay.
All right, that was fun.
So that was our new little fun game. I think that was a good time. Maybe we don't have a lot going on next week. Maybe he can find some new pictures. We can try it again.
That was cool.
I think that'll be it for the week, though. Appreciate everybody watching. Please like and subscribe as always. We'll see you again soon.
Hey, Anthony, thanks for coming on this week. That was pretty awesome.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Been hearing about you all year, but unfortunately Washington sucks so bad you could never get on.
Never get a special guest.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'd rather be a Commanders fan than a Cowboys fan, an Eagles fan, or a Giants fan, so it don't really matter.
I agree with you on 2/3 of what you just said.
Just because you picked a team just because they were good does not mean that you can say.
That's not why he picked them.
They weren't really good when I picked them.
He liked the way Tony Romo looked in his pants. But Anthony, it was very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on, bud.
Thank you for having me.